Oh, okay, there are 4 different buttons here, so I wasn't sure, 5 actually. So I come from a patient safety and patient engagement background, really across the board. And I wanted to sort of look at some of this and some of the things these ladies are doing outside of these talks. And just through that lens, through a general patient safety, patient engagement lens. So, you know, first of all, I mean, thinking about the Rich Life study and what Chidinma, and I hope I pronounce your name right, Chidinma, is doing. But, you know, what they're doing is intense personalization and support systems for healthcare. And this works. I mean, it's what healthcare used to be in this ideal world that lives in our minds, right? And it's what we want it to be. So if we do this in a thoughtful, informed way, inequity really sort of dissipates. If you treat people with respect, if you don't label them, if you treat them as individuals, and if you provide them with support based on what they really need, then they flourish. So the question that I would like to examine is, how do we extend this to all of healthcare? What you're doing, it's not just about disparities. So we all have our gut feelings about about disparities, but evidence in this area has really been grievously lacking. As in that project, it's beginning to change. But I do a lot of work in diagnosis where disparities are really, truly evident. And we all know that cognitive bias and implicit bias happens, but we're still not entirely sure why it happens or even exactly what it is, at least in terms of diagnosis. So the research on that is beginning, but it's more qualitative than quantitative, which I personally think is a good thing. And we're beginning to do a lot of more research from the point of view of the patient and of different groups, which is not just necessary, but I think a real breakthrough. So, and it's also critical in this, and this is something I think has really been lacking, is to know what's in the minds of the practitioners. Because this implicit bias is more than just social constructs, that's part of it, but it also comes from medical and healthcare training and the medical and healthcare experience. And these are issues that just aren't really talked about. If we can clarify some of these issues, we can begin to reach across the divide. So I have some quotes from Mia. I found an interview with you online, Mia, and so you're a very quotable person. So one is that, one thing that she says is, I have always believed that policy is where you go to change people's realities. That's really true. And then in the context of undocumented immigrants, she said, and this is a paraphrase, it's about feeling safe around your choices. People who are afraid of being deported if they go to their doctor, obviously not feeling safe. And then in South Africa, but this again is universally applicable. When governing bodies make decisions about where their monies go, the judicious policymaker will look at where the monies did not go and start to register those effects. That's really profound. This is the importance of the legislative process and public policy. And, you know, from my perspective as a researcher, that's something we don't take into account. You guys obviously live in that world. But I'm not sure everybody in this room does. I'd be interested to know that. So one of the issues on this is maternal mortality, or again, you know, just you talked about Native Americans having poor health care. Well, they have poor quality health care. They have poor resources, and that's one of the things that worries me about all of this. So maternal mortality, just sort of watching it over the past 20 years, I could have predicted it. Not that I'm any great expert, but through my lens, this is just an effect of the commoditization and the depersonalization of healthcare. It's finally emerging into the public consciousness that the problems of childbirth are not the fault of the mothers, but are of the care they are receiving. And I think, again, that has to do with the resources that are available, as well as bias and other issues. So just, to end on sort of a different note, I was a witness to the tort reform battles of the early 2000s, and obstetrics took the lead in that. I saw the rationalization that passed for evidence and the refusal to examine their own practices as a cause of harm. Why did that happen? I think the evidence is really thin, but with the mothers of color rebelling and leading the way, it's beginning to change. So I'll just say, yeah.
Thank you.
I'll stop there.
Thank you so much.